controlling capacity of microcosms is very limited. The microcosms can only temporarily control objects whose physical waves are shorter than their own psychic waves. When the physical waves of objects are longer, they can at most be brought within sense perception, but control. But when the wavelengths of physical objects are far longer than those of unit minds, they cannot even be brought within the scope of sense perception. In this case, those objects themselves exercise control over the physical existence, as well as the Kama Maya and Anamaya Kosha of individuals. The psychic wavelength of an average person is greater than that of wine, and hence his or her mind is not easily influenced by wine. But due to excessive drinking, the psychic wavelength of an alcoholic becomes shorter than the wavelength of wine, and he or she becomes its slave. The microscopic fraction of a wave radiated from an object and received by the sensory organs is called an inference tanmatra. The capacity of receiving or perceiving tanmatras is determined by the capacity of the indriyas as well as the psychic wavelength. Every atom and molecule in the process of conflict in the flows of sanshara and pratisanshara creates inferences. Of course, from the absolute point of view, every atom and molecule is cosmic mind stuff, but from the microcosmic point of view, the special type of inference radiated as a result of physical clash is called a tanmatra. Usually we do not call the waves caused by psychic clash tanmatras, because under normal circumstances such mental waves do not come within the perception of the sensory organs. When the psychic wave becomes lengthened as a result of spiritual ideation or the intellectual development caused by scientific pursuit, the human mind becomes more capable of controlling a greater amount of physical waves, as certain waves cannot be transmitted by the indriyas. Human beings have manufactured scientific instruments for the purpose. These instruments help their psychic waves to utilize those physical waves, which they previously considered to be uncontrollable, according to their own sweet will. Moreover, through internal development, the psychic waves of human beings become capable of controlling the internal mean propensities. But whether it is a propensity or any other object, the degree of psychic control depends on the lengthening of the psychic waves. Microcosms, confined as they are within the relative factors, have very little controlling authority. The macrocosm, however, is the controller of heaven and hell. It is worthwhile to mention here that the tendency of the human mind to degenerate towards matter in the path of negative pratisanshara is called hell, naraka, and the movement of the unit mind towards the supreme non-attributional stance in the flow of positive pratisanshara is called heaven. A unit mind which accepts gold or silver as the goal of life gradually becomes transformed into gold or silver. The psychic waves as a result of constant ideation are first transformed into the waves of gold or silver and finally into crude gold or silver itself as a result of yada samadhi. Later on it is reborn as a gold or silver and spends its day confined within the safe of a money-minded merchant. This undesirable situation is called Narakavasa, or life in hell. This type of degradation is not possible for creatures other than human beings, because they cannot perform original actions independently. With the development of intellectual and with the expansion of freedom in the field of action, human beings can either elevate themselves or degrade themselves. Prior to, the attainment of this freedom, they moved along the path of development, in the flow of pratisanshara. On acquiring this freedom, however, they have to make a tremendous effort to progress, or else they will certainly regress. Those people who move towards heaven or hell are not the controller of either, but the macrocosm is the controller of both, because the movement from hell to heaven is nothing but the direct result of the application of his divine energy. Microcosms incessantly run after objects, one after the other, for their self-preservation. But as there is nothing outside the macrocosm, he does not run after any object. Sarvendriya gunabhasham sarvendriya vivarjitam. Macrocosms can use their indriyas to receive tanmatras radiated from the fundamental factors, or to activate the fundamental factors. For the microcosms, these fundamental factors are external entities, but for the macrocosm, nothing is external. Moreover, as the cosmic mind is multilateral and its knowledge infinite, it does not require indriyas or a brain. Even when the macrocosm is an apparent state of inaction, he performs his role of knower, knowable and knowledge, with the help of cosmic momentum. So it must be admitted that Indriya's capacity to receive objects actually lies in the microcosm. It is only when power is infused in microcosms that they develop the capacity of knowledge and action. Dead bodies have Indriyas, but they do not possess the capacity of receiving objects, because on death the power is withdrawn by macrocosm. As the macrocosm does not have any external object, he does not require the help of any Indriya for the externalization of any action or the internalization of an idea. Thus he called Sarvendriya Vivarjita, devoid of any Indriya. The unit mind in the process of constant cosmic ideation moves steadily towards the macrocosm and finally becomes one with him. One of the reasons for the multilateral goal of the microcosm lies in the nature of its ectoplasmic functions. According to the degree of density of the ectoplasm, there is tremendous internal friction. Whenever the microcosm comes in contact with matter, it is drawn away from its original stance by the material waves. This scattering of the mind stuff towards different objects is what we call the innumerable human cravings and longings. But in the limited practical realm, as its unit I-feeling has to work through the body, the unit mind finds it difficult to associate itself with more than one object at a time. When the extroversial tendency of human beings rushes towards objects in a particular environment, the mind begins to dance according to vibrations of the material waves of those objects. People who are not accustomed to using luxury goods in life hardly feel their necessity, but those who have already used such things have a natural weakness for them. In Bengali there is a proverb, Yar shele yata paitar shele tatashai. The more a child gets, the more it wants. In the practical field, we notice that unless the material waves are controlled by the psychic waves, no action can take place. In the absence of proper harmony between hands and mind, a person cannot do anything. Thus, for action to occur, microcosms must control the physical waves of objects with the help of their entire psychic wave. Not only in the case of physical action, but also while thinking, it becomes impossible for microcosms to be focused on more than one object or action at a time. The excessive desire for material enjoyment or the excessive pursuit of crude matter reduces the interectoplasmic space, and as a result causes microcosms to become totally obsessed with their psychic objects. This is the reason why so-called learned people are averse to spiritual practice. Their lives have become too egotistical. Spiritual practice sadhana means to powder down the ectoplasmic structure with the help of opposing forces. That is, sadhana is a process of struggle against the inter-ectoplasmic affinity. The individual parts of ectoplasmic cells are called shitanu. When these shitanu merge their individual identities into the cognitive faculty, or when they become separated from one another, it should be understood that one is progressing along the path of expansion. As the ectoplasms begin to drift away from one another, their collective vibration feels more and more affinity towards the cosmic waves, and finally they merge themselves in those macrocosmic waves. This process of merging one's individual flow into the cosmic flow is called self-surrender. Those who have difficulty surrendering themselves suffer from structural crudity, a lack of cosmic affinity, and an excess of vanity or ego. This universe is embedded in the macrocosmic flow. There is no instrument within microcosms to fathom the depth of the macrocosmic flow. Each and every atom and molecule of the universe, all minds and all matter are drifting in the vast macrocosmic flow. The person whose mind is free from the burden of crudity can easily float on the vast cosmic ocean. But who is loaded down with a heavy burden will sink. Lord Buddha said in the Dharmapada, Sinsha bhikkhu imam navam sittate lahu me sati. O monk, if you want to reach the other bank of the river, you must reduce the load in the boat of your mind. Throw it overboard. Whether in the homogeneous flow or in the heterogeneous flow, each and every atom and molecule of the universe is floating, consciously or unconsciously, in the macrocosmic flow. This is the science of psychospiritual parallelism. This macrocosmic dance around the macrocosmic nucleus or Purushottama is known as Rasa Lila. Nritya Vashe Shanshala Hala Vidrohi Paramanu Padayaya Gire Yoti Manjire Bhaya Chandra Banu. The rebellious atoms becomes restless with the dance. The dancing steps emit the divine effulgence of 1,000 suns and moons. Paushi Purnima, 1959, DMC, Darbhaga, Bihar.